although replays seem to suggest Graham Smith didn't actually touch the ball on his way to being caught. Hashim Amla was the next to go, but this time there was no doubt that Stuart Broad had hit his target. And just 7 runs later, Broad struck again, removing Jacques Kallis. South Africa went on to lose their last 7 wickets for just 41 runs by the time Broad took his 4th and final scalp. England secured a 6-run victory, which should be enough to help them take one of 4 quarter-final berths from Group B. Joanna Gajrowska, AlJazeera.
Well, as we mentioned, finding new and interesting ways of losing tight games at the Cricket World Cup still a habit South Africa finding hard to break. Captain Graham Smith once again having to talk about whether or not his team are chokers.
I wouldn't say so. I mean, I think that we've handled ourselves well in a number of situations around the world over the last few years to be able to say that we can cope with pressure. I think the results we've been able to produce have shown that. I think today, you have to look at the skill that England showed, and I think their back end of the innings showed that it was very tough.
After the Ireland game, we really needed to come out and show some character. We definitely needed to do that. We didn't do it as much with the bat as we would have liked, but to be fair to the guys, they dug very deep in the field, and I was delighted for the bowlers who've been under the pump a little bit for them to come out and show what they can do. It bodes well for the rest of the tournament.
Well, right now, co-host India playing Ireland in Sunday's other Group B match. Kevin O'Brien, the century hero against England, scored just 9 this time out. Ireland bowled out for 207, 5 wickets there for Yuvraj Singh. India, they've just started their reply, struggling a bit, 30 for 2, the latest score. Now, Barcelona have extended their lead at the top of the Spanish Primera División. The champions 10 points clear now of Real Madrid after a 1-0 win over Real Zaragoza. Some key players rested for this one ahead of Tuesday's Champions League match against Arsenal. Seydou Keita making the most of a rare place in the starting lineup. The Mali international putting away Messi's deflected cross there to give Barca the win. Real can cut the gap to 7 points if they beat Racing Santander later on this Sunday. Valencia's 2-1 win at Mallorca means they stay in third. They did go behind. That foul giving Ivan Ramis the chance to score from the penalty spots. They were in the lead for just 2 minutes, though. Valencia's Pablo Hernandez driving the ball home for the equaliser. And then early in the second half, the same player, Hernandez, scoring his second to complete that crucial win. Villarreal are 4 points adrift now of Valencia after this defeat, beaten 3-1 by Atletico Madrid. Jose Antonio Reyes scoring after just 5 minutes for Atletico. Now, Villarreal did equalise through Giuseppe Rossi, but in the second half, Sergio Aguero chipping over Villarreal's keeper to put Atletico back in front. And just 4 minutes later, Diego Forlan scored to seal the home win. Atletico up to 6th and a Europa League position with that win. So, Real going to Santander later on. They have to win that match, but they will be without Cristiano Ronaldo, the top scorer. He's played in every league game this season so far, but he's set to be out for at least a couple of weeks with a hamstring injury. Two of the fiercest rivals in English football, they're playing each other right now. Manchester United can move 6 points clear at the top if they beat Kenny Dalglish's Liverpool. 20 minutes gone at Anfield, still 0-0 there. Spurs, they're away at Wolves later on. In Italy, leaders AC Milan have cemented their place at the top of Serie A with a 1-0 win over Juventus. Well into the second half when this happened. We don't often see Gennaro Gattuso scoring this, his first goal in 3 years. He's, though, suspended for Wednesday's Champions League match against Tottenham. Juventus are in all sorts of trouble. They've lost 5 of their last 7 league games. They're down in 7th. They didn't have a single shot on goal in that match. Sunday's early match saw 2 of Serie A strugglers playing each other. Cesena, they've just claimed a crucial away win at Sampdoria. 3-2 the final score in this one. That result lifting them out of the relegation zone just on goal difference. Inter will be aiming to cut the gap on leaders AC to 5 points when they kick off against Genoa in a few minutes' time. Third place Napoli are at home to Brescia after losing to Milan and being knocked out of the Europa League by Villarreal. They're now aiming to hold on to their automatic Champions League place. Now, 3-time Tour de France winner Alberto Contador could still face a court hearing over doping allegations that despite the fact he won an appeal last month, the Spaniard tested positive for the anabolic steroid clenbuterol during last year's race, initially banned for a year by the Spanish Cycling Federation before having that decision overturned. But the sport's world governing body, the International Cycling Union, are deciding whether or not to appeal against that decision at the Court of Arbitration for Sports. They have until the 24th of March to make a decision. Rory Sabatini holds a 5-stroke lead going into the final round of golf's Honda Classic in Florida. The American shot a 4 under par 66 in Palm Beach on Saturday. That shot out of the rough, just one highlight from Sabatini, who equalled the tournament course record with a 64 on Friday. 2009 champion there, Y.E. Yang, he's tied for second place with Jerry Kelly, coming close to an eagle there on the 14th. Sichuan driver Sébastien Ogier holds a narrow lead over teammate Sebastian Loeb going into the final day of the Rally of Mexico. Loeb, seen here, picked up a 50-second time penalty on Saturday. He started stage 15 late because of some gearbox problems. That allowed Ogier to take a 10.5-second lead over the 7-time world champion. But Ford Fiesta driver Dennis Kuiper's race ended just there in a ditch. His car clipping a bend, he and co-driver not hurt, but not surprisingly, his race was over. Okay, that is all your sports.
Ouch. Andy, many thanks indeed. Now, it's the battle to save ancient woodlands containing enormous trees from a profit-driven corporation. That may sound like the plot to the hit movie Avatar. It's also the real-life story of a forest in Western Canada that's earmarked for commercial logging and the campaign to stop that from happening. MTS Tayab reports.
This is Avatar Grove, a range of red cedars and Douglas firs that have been standing here for between 500 and 1,000 years. The environmental campaigner Ken Wu discovered the site while exploring for ancient trees over a year ago, giving it its now widely used name, inspired by the Hollywood blockbuster when he found it was earmarked for logging. Wu says the plight of the fictitious planet isn't too dissimilar to what's happening here.
Avatar, in large part, is about saving old-growth forests on an alien planet. And we realize that we have an incredible rainforest here on Earth that needs protecting.
The province of British Columbia is one of the few places in the world that has such massive and ancient forests. Its government is also one of the few that allows for the commercial logging of such trees. Environmentalists say if policy isn't changed, this is what's left. Nearly 5 million hectares of BC's forests over 140 years old are protected by the province. But with over 95 million hectares of forest land in total, environmental groups say that isn't enough. The plight of Avatar Grove has attracted tens of thousands, and after the province of BC's own independent forestry oversight body urged officials to spare the range of ancient trees, the government appears to be listening.
I do think that the public's calling out for better mechanisms to manage our forests. We've continued to do that, and I think as a government,